Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before we get into it with our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Emily Breeden on the podcast. She's a filthy Iowan that is a transplant to Las Vegas. I had to get that out of the way, everyone. We have a little rivalry, going being in the Midwest. She abandoned us, as I will say. She went on to greener pastures, so I'm a little jealous of that myself. But yeah, she's on here to just share her health and fitness journey and discuss all things health and fitness. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Emily, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm not even going to ask about the weather because it's already depressing enough as it is, knowing that you're in such a probably a little bit more of a warmer climate. But before I, what is it?
75 degrees outside.
See, I'm just one click away from ending this, everyone, and I'm getting very close to it right now. But we're gonna power through this, okay? I mean, like I told her, we are in the 40s today for like the one time in January that we ever have it, and now it's gonna, go back to what it normally was. But before I start tearing up and crying, Emily, why don't you just give us your backstory on what inspired and motivated you to get in shape and how that led to where you're at right now?
All right. Well, so what inspired me to get into shape originally was I come from a family that is a little bit on the heavier side. So the automatic thought was, okay, so more cardio, less food. So I ended up joining cross country. So I would run cross country for about 3 years in high school. And then I was introduced into track. And with track, you have to run a little bit faster. So I was like the 800-meter dash girl. So being like 118 pounds, that was not ideal for me. So I needed to just get into the gym and put on more weight. Eventually, I realized I really loved the gym and I started skipping track practices so that I could do more weightlifting. And that kind of led to recreational weightlifting, loving putting on muscle. And then, Instagram was popping off at around this time, end of high school, the 2018, 2019 area. And I saw Ashley Coltwasser on my Explore page, right? Beautiful woman, bright, sparkly, bejeweled green suit. And I was like, why can't that be me? And then hence bodybuilding. I hired a coach, and then the rest is history from there. So,
What was the bodybuilding scene really like in Iowa? Because I have had probably like one or two other Iowans on the podcast, but it doesn't seem like it's really that big as it is in other parts of the country. So what was that like up and coming in bodybuilding in Iowa?
oh my goodness, it doesn't exist. Part of why I moved to Las Vegas to build my fitness empire. But yeah, my class was probably 3 people in Iowa at my first show, and I got second place, and I thought that was super cool. Minnesota's a little bit better. That was where my second show was at, so I have a little bit of love for you Minnesotans. Okay, y'all are pretty dope. Twin Cities Classic, and that was a pretty stacked class.
Wait. Before we get into that, was that at Bloomington Jefferson High School?
No, actually, it was at a convention center.
Was it in Bloomington?
Twin Cities.
Twin City. I think they might do it in Bloomington though, but that's my hometown, and one of those shows they do it at my alma mater high school too as well. So when you mentioned that, I got to look it up and make sure that that's there because Twin Cities. They see the thing that I don't like about up here sometimes that they always say Twin Cities, but then most of the stuff isn't actually even in the Twin Cities. Like it's in the suburbs of it. Like how everyone says like, oh, it's in Chicago, but then it's like, no, it's a suburb 15 minutes outside of Chicago. But so I just had to double check, and I was like, okay, did she really go to my alma mater? And then so yeah.
Yeah, no, it was in like a convention center, and there was like escalators,
Okay.
and yeah.
So when you were getting started, I mean, there's so many misconceptions that people have about the sport just because there isn't that much knowledge there unless you really go and dig into it. Is there anything about the sport that really surprised you when you were getting into it?
Something that surprised me, I would definitely say the amount of cardio. So, like when you first get into bodybuilding, you think that it's just going to be eating healthy and working out heavy, and maybe you'll get down to 1,200 calories, right? But what you don't factor in is the fact that you have not built that strong foundation yet. So, like when you're first getting into bodybuilding, you don't really have the muscle. So, it means you have to diet harder. So, I had gone down to probably eating around like 800 calories and walking 2 hours a day when it came to the very end because, runner, someone who just went from running to weightlifting, it wasn't the most easy transition. But we went there, so I went from like 118 pounds to right now I'm sitting around like 154. So
How did you function on 800 calories in 2 hours of cardio? Like I can't imagine even functioning off of that.
oh, honey, a shit ton of espresso. You know,
I'm hyper enough as it is. Could you imagine me on espresso? But still, on that little, again, I am 6'3", 205 pounds, so that amount would, very drastically affect me differently than it did you. But still, 800. Wow, that is incredible. Again, it goes to the testament of just the willpower that you guys have. And where do you think that willpower comes from to be able to be in situations like that and overcome them? Because not everybody has that willpower.
I feel like you have to almost like the suffering, you know? For me, it was more of the process than the destination. It was the I'm doing this because I can. And to kind of prove to yourself that, like you are that bitch. It's like you're doing this because you have the privilege to compete in the sport. I mean, like competing in bodybuilding is a privilege. Being able to get that lean is a privilege. Like it's a financial stressor. Being able to work a job on that many calories, like you have to have the ability of financing the competition. You have to have the ability of having the time to do the shows, the money for the supplements, the money for the food, because it's not cheap, like you can't just eat the $2 frozen pizza and throw it in the oven. You have to go to the store, get the chicken breast, get the vegetables, get all the healthy, nutrient dense foods, and it's not cheap. So
What was your friends and family's reaction like when you announced them, like, hey, I want to get bodybuilding a try?
oh man, so I come from a very conservative family, right? So for them, me stepping on a stage in a sparkly bedazzled bikini
Hey
was not,
guys, check me out.
yeah, I was just like, okay, so they're either going to come to my show and support me or I'm going to be dissed. But they actually,
Or they have the signs outside of it just being like boob.
yeah, no, they were extremely supportive of the show because they saw how much work I put into it. They're like, Emily, we do not understand why you want to do this, but because we love you, we will support you. And really, that's all you need. So,
Yeah, that means the world because so many times I've talked to people where the opposite has happened and it just is a huge detriment to it. But I also have to talk genetics on this show where I could train just like someone, I could supplement just like them, I could do the same nutrition, and I'm not going to end up looking like them. Everyone's body's built differently, but on top of that, you always have that one body part that really, really takes off that you don't have to train as much when you get started. And then you have that one body part that just drags behind that you have to train to oblivion. What was one body part that really took off for you? And what's been one body part that you've just had to drag behind?
I would say for me, I am genetically blessed with having a smaller waist. So for me, like even in my off season, like it's always going to look like I have a flat stomach, which is very uh, deceiving, I guess you could say, because you feel like you're very lean, but you're not. It's just you have small waist. Like right now, I'm at like 26.5 inches for my waist, and then 40.5 inches for my glutes. So I would always say that my lower body has been a strength of mine and my waist, but my shoulders, I could always work on my shoulders because, running cross country, you never train upper body. Like you don't really need it. So
I will say there are probably so many women right now that want to murder you when you announce your measurements and stuff. And you say that you have a flat stomach all throughout the year because that is something, even as a man, I'm thinking about is like, oh, what life would be like if that was so enjoy your genetics, enjoy that, enjoy it while you have it, because yeah, that is a great thing to have because so many times I talk to especially women who even if they have your background, they still struggle with legs, but being able to have that, yes, that's definitely a blessing. And upper body, that's always something that it can be worked on, but what do you try to do to at least get the shoulders up? Because shoulders is another area that I talk to, especially with women, other than hamstrings and glutes. That's the one area where I just assume that everyone struggles with that. And like you're one of the rare cases where it's not so much. But like, so what do you do with shoulders really then? Because that's an area that everyone looks to grow and a lot of people struggle with it.
yeah, for sure. So I would say, especially with bikini competitors, they will often think higher volume is the way to like really hit your shoulders. But when they're doing that, they're probably just doing the isolation exercises like lateral raises, like the cables. What really took off for me was when I did those heavy compounds to start off with. Because when you're just getting into building a body part, you need to have a strong foundation first. So, what my coach had me do, shout out Courtney Starr, um, she had me do bench press, barbell bench press, barbell shoulder press, and doing a ton of supersets and trisets. So like we would start off with those heavy compounds, go into some supersets and trisets, and then finish off with those unilateral isometric lifts. So
I always tell people never forget the triceps. That's the most undervalued body part, especially on the upper body, where you can have horrible arms, but as long as you have good triceps, it can mask so much. And that was honestly my case where I was really, blessed in that area at least. But yeah, and honestly, people, you got to train it more than once a week. Then, if you're really like lagging behind on it, that's the best piece of advice that I would give as well. But posing is one thing that is not talked about as much as it should be, and so many people struggle with it. I was so shocked when I see we get that reaction almost every single time. I was so shocked to learn that for so many people, it's harder than their working out and it's harder than their nutrition. What is your relationship like with posing?
fuck posing. Oh my god. So I was never a girly girl growing up at all. So I didn't know how to wear heels. Like even now, my coach has me practicing walking in heels. So I will just be wearing my heels around the house, which I have a guy, like a male roommate, right? Bless his heart. So he's gonna see me just walking around in these plastic high heels, maybe my posing suit every now and then. But that's just to get comfortable with like just walking in the heels, like not even the posing, just walking in heels. um, Before my first show, I think I did 2 posing sessions, and because you never think, you know what I mean? Like, it always is the last
Can
thought
I
of the
just
mind.
say, when I hear that, I'm shivering a little bit when you said that you only did 2 posing sessions. I was like, oh dear God, what did that look like?
Oh, it was bad. It was so bad. So, yeah, 2 posing sessions, stepped on stage, and then I realized, no, I might need a little bit more work. So, I started posing 4 weeks out of my second show. And so then we learned our lesson, and now I moved out to Vegas, and I'm actually in the same city as my head coach, Adam Bonilla, who, believe this, ready? Trains Ashley Coltwasser, the girl who inspired me to begin with, who also lives in Las Vegas. I've met her. So I'm surrounded by the most amazing team, Team Elite Physique. We have the contest prep center here, and now I'm posing every single Friday with my team, and my posing has improved tremendously. So like my biggest sound of advice would be like if you have the opportunity, get some girls together, and pose weekly because that will also transfer onto stage. If you have confidence, you'll get that wow factor. Like just having a group of supportive girls around you, like being able to say, hey, try rotating your hips a little bit more with those steps, or hey, face the judges a little bit more when you're on the side. Like that makes a world of difference.
How frustrating is it to you that for posing, especially, I mean, every body part has to be in perfect synchronization. You can, a lot of people just assume with posing, like probably you did when you first got started, it's like, oh, if I just position myself like this and if I just go like that, it's fine. But people don't understand that, like, even your calf might have to be flaring or something like everything has to be synchronized. How hard was that to really grasp that? Because for so many people, that's the thing that takes them the longest, and that's the thing that they really struggle with is just realizing how much flow your body has to be in when posing.
Oh, yeah, that took a hot minute. So, like, for each individual, they're going to have to do their posing a little bit differently. So, for example, for me, I have flared ribs. I'm just going to, like, right here. So, I have to I can't vacuum like most girls do on stage because that would just make me look like a fish. I would have gills. So, what I have to do is I kind of have to tense my stomach and kind of curve my spine just ever so slightly inward. And what that does is it sets my rib cage down and gets rid of that flared ribs. Like for me, that's something I have to do that other girls wouldn't have to do, and like breathe out and suck in a little bit there. And then
How
what
did
I
you figure out to do that? Was that something that you just knew ahead of time, or did you have to, like, through trial and error, figure out, like, that's how I do it?
I actually did posing sessions with my coach, and so like that's where having another pair of eyes is so important. So like I know it's cheaper to look on YouTube and be like, oh yeah, this is how I pose and practice in front of a mirror, but it makes a world of difference just having another set of eyes on you, like a trained set of eyes to be like, oh, you should do this for your body part because this is the ideal image. So yeah.
It's just fascinating how it differs from person to person. But being a bikini competitor, was your favorite pose and was your least favorite pose?
Ooh, I would say my favorite pose is going to be the front pose because, as I was saying earlier, my best ass is going to be my waist and then my hips, and so I can really show off um, my ratios in that front pose. But the hardest pose for me, I would have to say, is my back pose because one thing I struggle with is I have hip dips as a female, and so that kind of shows that it looks a little wonky from the back post. So like I have to set up my camera and I'm still trying to figure out how to manipulate my body, maneuver it so that I don't get the quad sweep in the back pose. So it's just everybody's different.
It's the little things I tell you that just add up, and then it's what differentiates people. But when you're stepping on that stage after going through hell, let's be completely honest, prep is not the nicest thing. But what is that moment like for you when you finally get to show off all that hard work that you've worked months upon months on?
It is exhilarating. It feels kind of like a roller coaster. Um, just being under the lights, it just passes by so quickly. You're almost kind of like in auto mode where you just walk out because at this point it's like muscle memory, you just walk out, you go boom, 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 turn around, boom, and they go, okay, done, walk off the stage, and you're just kind of like, that was it. It's like that was 30 seconds, and you just spent 30 weeks for some people preparing for this competition in just 30 seconds, and it just goes by so quickly.
That's why I say these people are borderline crazy because they do go through that much for that little amount of time. But how much do you wish that because like I've always thought that they should incorporate at least some, not even like physique poses, but just some other poses too as well. Because it's like if you're going through that much effort, you might as well be able to show off everything. Just because, well, yeah, like with bikini, it's like yeah, you can go through your routine so quickly.
Uh-huh. See, what I've loved is recently they've started giving people the opportunity of making the poses their own. So, like, for example, at the Olympia, Laura Lee was able to kind of throw in her own little routine, little hand motions, and make it more unique to her. And that's what I love about posing is that it's kind of like an art form to you. So you can kind of throw a little bit of your personality in there. Like for me, for example, I'm a little bit more bubbly. I've tried to be sexy. It does not translate very well. So for me, like I'll do like a little hair flip, a little shoulder shrug, and just like that little cheerleader happy bubbly action. And that's gonna look best for me because that's what I feel most confident doing. And it makes you stick out a little bit more. And it's becoming more widely accepted as well, which I absolutely love.
Was it easier for you at first to walk on that stage, or did it take a lot of courage to build up? Because I know some people are just that natural where they can just walk in front of anyone and do anything. But for so many people, even when you're in the best of shape, to be almost half naked on a stage posing in front of people, it's terrifying I'd say probably like 95% of the general population.
Yeah. I would say my first competition, I was definitely more nervous, but that's when like just repetition comes into play. Like the more you do something, the more confident you're going to be, the more comfortable you'll be doing it. I mean, I've always been a little bit good with the spotlight because I was in speech club. I was in a lot of clubs growing up, and I'm going to be honest, I've always loved the spotlight being on me, sports teams, all that kind of thing. So for me, I just love it. I just love the sport.
I do podcasts, okay? So duh, that also applies to me. So I know exactly what you're talking about. So no, I get that totally. And just this whole lifestyle is so much more sacrifice mentally, I think, than anything physically. And unfortunately, only a lot of people are only going to notice the physical changes on you and just say, "Oh my God, Emily, you look amazing," but they're not going to really notice the mental changes as well. But what has this journey been like for you mentally?
Mentally, I would say bodybuilding has fundamentally changed who I am as a person. So like before I got into bodybuilding, I went to the University of Iowa, baby. You know what that's like. We got tailgates, we got the bars, a little bit of Molly on the weekends. But with bodybuilding, you can't really be doing those things. Like what it caused me to do is it gave me a routine and it gave me structure. And from that, I was able to adopt more discipline. I was able to kind of get more mental clarity from not being drunk and hungover all the time. And that changed me. Like I was no longer doing things that I regretted because I just simply didn't have time and I didn't have the energy to. And as you go into bodybuilding, you'll also notice that like your friend groups change, like you start surrounding yourself with people who are going to uplift you because you don't have the energy for, I like to call people that take energy from you, dementors. You can't be surrounding yourself with dementors that just suck the life out of you. You're going to be around people that are going to be like giving energy to you, like supporting you, making sure that you're doing things right, focusing on the good. And so, like, you just give up the bad stuff.
Did it get easier to slowly cut those people off? Because I know for me, especially too, when I sort of did the same thing, it was very hard at first, but then it got easier as you got better at slowly just being able to distinguish what people were good for you and who wasn't.
It definitely gets easier. I would say the busier you get, the more choosy you're going to be with your crew, with your inner crowd, because you don't have the time, honestly. It's like without bodybuilding, there was like a lot more free time on your hands. You know what I mean? But like with bodybuilding, you got like an hour, hour and a half of weightlifting. You have a half an hour to cardio. You have meal prep. I would just say it does get easier. So
And you mentioned that you're in Vegas now and doing all of that. Other than your coach being there, was there any other reason that you chose Vegas out of all the other places?
oh yeah, Iowa. Iowa?
Oh no, but I'm saying like that you didn't choose like LA or you didn't choose like any other place in the country.
Oh, yes. I would definitely say Las Vegas is becoming the mecca of bodybuilding. We have the Olympia here. We have all the amazing gyms. Fit Club, for example. It is not uncommon to see just Jay Cutler walking around Fit Club, and you're just like, that's an Olympian. Like seeing
Please tell
Stan.
me you walk up to him and be like, "You look really small today," and then just like walk away.
No, no, I just look at him and I'm just like, I'll just go back to my machines. Yeah. But just being surrounded by Olympians, like being in that atmosphere pushes you to grow. So like that's the reason why I chose Las Vegas is because I was like, right now, I'm the big fish in the small pond in Iowa. With Las Vegas, you are literally surrounded by Olympians. We have Jennifer Dory, Miss Bikini Olympia. We have Ashley Coltwasser, 3-time Miss Bikini Olympia. And you're seeing these people on like a weekly basis. And it's a reminder of that is where I can be if I just stay dedicated and I stay on top of my shit. And so Las Vegas, perfect.
Other than just incredible genetics, when you do associate with those people and you do see them weekly, what do you think differentiates them from just the average bodybuilder and what makes them so great?
I would definitely say that they live and that they breathe bodybuilding. So like all the bodybuilders are connected. So like when you think of Las Vegas, you think it's like this big city, but in reality, it's a really small city because everyone knows each other. And with bodybuilding, it's a very niche community. So like for example, when I moved out here to Las Vegas, I was wondering like how am I going to make friends? Literally, I made all of my friends just from going to Fit Club. Like, I walk in through the door, I know Vinny, the guy at the front. I know the owners, Ryan, Gavin. Like, who am I hanging out with now? My friends from Fit Club. I'm going to hot yoga. So, like, you kind of are doing everything with those people that share that same mentality, share that same lifestyle. And again, like, you have to surround yourself by the people that you want to be like in order to grow. And that is what differentiates the people in Las Vegas, for example, from the people in Iowa, because you're always surrounded by that atmosphere, by that culture. And it's that constant reminder of, I need to stay on top of my shit. I need to stay on top of my shit. But what I've also noticed about these people is that they don't take it extremely, extremely seriously too. Like they'll still throw down at this place called like Stacks and Yolks. Like you'll see Jen Dory eating like a stack of pancakes in her off season. So like I would like to say there's no such thing as balance, but like they're not wearing themselves down either, but they are making sure that they're on top of their shit all the time as well. So
I will say I've asked that question to a few dozen other people before, and that is almost on par of what I hear all the time is that they are just able to maintain themselves and they're able to find that somewhat of a balance and they're just on themselves constantly, which not every bodybuilder is. And that's honestly too one of the reasons, that I think that they're able to maintain it. I mean, like, let's be honest too, even though you're competing, see my tongue tied and twisted moment. We got almost halfway and then we almost we got close there, everyone. But let's be honest, you're a bikini competitor, but still, even when you're in prep, you still look so much different than the average woman. Even just walking down the street, you are going to get add people's attention just because I compared to like being a mini celebrity, where it's just human nature when they see something that's not the normal, just draw more attention to it. Have you gotten used to that, or is it still something that you're like, okay, this is weird how much more attention that I'm getting?
I would definitely say I haven't gotten used to it, so it's always a pleasant surprise when people are just like, "Hey, what sport do you play?" So, like, for example, I'm a bartender and a bottle girl at Stoney's, which is a country bar, and so we wear these little corset tops with, like, the little straps, and it barely fits me with my lats and my shoulders now. Like, even in my off season, I'm just like, okay, we're stuffed in here, and I'm not even that jacked right now compared to like the pros, but it is obvious that I work out when I wear these tops, and then it also shows off my waist, and you know, so like, I'll have people all the time being like, "Yo, what sport do you play?" And like, how do I say this without coming off weird? How do you just say,
I work out for a sport, basically.
"I look pretty for a living"?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just say I'm a bodybuilder. I like to always clarify and say bikini division. I'm not like doing anything too crazy.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, trust me. I've talked to. I mean, I had a figure compare on before you, and then I had a physique compare on a couple days ago, and yeah, there's. I will probably be the best person to tell anyone. Yes, there's a clear difference between those divisions, and just look at how different those three guests that I had back to back to back look, and you can see definitely the difference. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that everyone has different body types, and it works better for some. And plus, you have some of those people that are just so genetically blessed that they could just look at a dumbbell and then they just put on, so much muscle that you're just like. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those. And a lot of bikini compares aren't that. But I mean, just the amount of conditioning that you guys come in, it's ridiculous. And how do you get through preps without just driving yourself crazy? Because I hear so many prep brain stories, and knowing how clumsy I can be at times, the fact that I would survive a prep would be shocking to me.
I honestly don't think I ever got prep brain. Um, Maybe my friends and family would say otherwise, but for me, I don't know. Like when you get into that routine and you get into that structure, like everything is just down to a T where it just becomes second nature of, okay, coffee in the morning, boom. Um, I just graduated from college and moved out here. So it was just like go to class, go to work, go to the gym, go home. So I could really just be on autopilot and I didn't really have much of a social life on prep either. So I didn't really have to, I guess you could say, like think that much. I was an exercise science major, minor in psychology. I wasn't doing calculus, you know?
I was a business major, so I was clearly way more. No, I'm just kidding. Business major, that's the biggest joke ever, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay, but econ, that's a hard class. I have a lot of business major friends. They actually struggled with those ones.
Not if you suck up to the professor.
Oh, okay.
And I don't mean that way. I just mean if you're extra nice to them and you clearly put in the hours and he just says, "You know what? If you show up every day," he goes, "I enjoy having you in class. You're a very talkative person." Because I was in a smaller class. He goes, "You know what? You show up every day and you contribute to the class and you be the guy that you are, you'll get a B. You'll just get a B. You don't even have to study for the test. You just take the test." He goes, "You'll get a B." So the perks of being like me, I guess. So
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me. Or like when you go to class, there's just some of those classes where no one talks whatsoever. And I can already tell that you'd be over there, like you'd be the devil's advocate. You're in the back, you're just like,
I'm the guy who, if in high school, if they need someone to, like, if we were doing like English class and there was like a play and they're like, someone needs to read for this guy, I'd be like, I do the accents and everything. I got my Irish accent, my German accent. I did all. I would accent it out for extra credit points. And but the thing was, like, I was not like super popular, but I was popular too. So I was an enigma where they're like, okay, normally you'd just be like a theater kid, but I was also one of the better athletes at the school. So I'm an enigma. I will say that though. But yeah, I give off those major vibes. But yeah, I will say, everyone, if we're gonna get any lessons from this podcast, is that it helps to be nice to people.
yes, most definitely. I would definitely say that because that is actually how I moved out to Vegas in the first place
Well, you're
was
Midwestern. It comes natural to us.
That yeah, we glow different in Vegas. Like the people in Vegas are kind of like a little bit more closed off.
We're saints to those people, and we're just normal here, which is hilarious.
Yeah, no, here everyone's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
What's up?" And then in Vegas, they kind of just look at us like we're zoo animals. Like, where did they get all this energy from? Like, who are you? Like, what is going on? But I will say that will definitely take you far because being kind, like just giving off good energy, that is going to leave a lasting impact with people, and then they're going to want to help you out. Like, I needed a lot of help since moving out here to Vegas. I'm gonna be honest. Like my car got broken into. Like a little naive. I'm the honest. I was very naive moving out here to Vegas. Just graduated from college. Lived in Iowa my whole entire life. Moved out here. I actually lived with my coach for a hot minute there. And so she, like I said, like you were saying, be kind and will take you far. She took me into her home and introduced me to all the teammates at Team Elite Physique. And so I got my posing seminars. I got help with dieting. I got introduced to a whole bunch of amazing people. And really, that helped get me started with just transitioning into the Vegas lifestyle, being able to finally start out my in person coaching at Fit Club in addition to my online coaching and just really get my foot in the door.
I mean, as good as it was that she took you in, it must have sucked though knowing that you couldn't really cheat at all when you're living with your coach. Like there's no way that you could really like step off plan. So you really had to be like stepping on knives. So it was nice for her to do that, but that's the one thing I'm thinking about. I was like, it is great that she did that, but like you could not be having like your Twix bars or anything like that like at night or like she'd know. Like that's the only problem I could ever foresee.
It was actually extremely helpful though, because she would pick up on like all the things that I wouldn't even think about. You know what I mean? So like for example, she just called me out the other day. She was like, Emily, and I was like, what? And because I just moved over, I just moved into this apartment 2 weeks ago. So I've been living with her for like the past 5 months, right? Just getting my finances together and all that stuff. And she was like, have you ever noticed how much shit you put into your body? I was like, what do you mean? And she's just like, you have your daily probiotic, you have a kombucha, you have kimchi, you have Greek yogurt. She goes, you have apple cider vinegar. She's like, you have a lot of probiotics going into you right now. And that's probably not a good
And you
thing.
still have a flat stomach after that? Good God, stop bragging.
And what's funny is that when I took those out, my inflammation actually went down and my waist went down a half an inch just from
I hate her so much now. I'm just putting a nice face on for the rest of the show, everyone. But deep down, I hate her.
it's that Midwestern hospitality. You
Yeah,
keep it yourself.
I keep a knife behind my back, but I'm just smiling the entire time. No, we're just kidding, everyone. Believe me, there's gonna be some idiot down below who's like, "Oh my god, he's actually threatening her." It's like, dude, just no. I trust me, I've dealt with that way too much, but I'm way too sarcastic to not at least let it fly every once in a while. But yeah, it's your genetics. I will tell you though. I mean, I like being 6'3", but I'll take your genetics too as well.
I mean, 6'3", you're already above all the other guys, quite literally.
So I went to a bodybuilding show last year. I went to the one here, the Twin Cities. I don't know if it's the Open, but it was at the casino. It was the Twin Cities Pro or something like that. But just seeing all the guests that I've had on and just meeting them in person and realizing that like I could bounce most of them like basketballs because I was like a foot taller than a lot of the guests that I had on. It's pretty funny. Like when you realize that like these people are so jacked, but they're also a lot of them are smaller. So that's why whenever I have like another fellow 6 foot on the podcast, it's like I don't favor them, but I'm like, okay, I respect them a little bit, just not more, but like you know what I'm saying, where it's like if they're able to put on that much size and being that tall, especially if they're a female too, and they do that, that's really impressive to me. But when you're coming out here to Vegas too, you talked about hot yoga. Why do they even do hot yoga there? Just go outside for like 10 minutes during the summertime, and that's all the hot yoga you're ever gonna need.
That is definitely extremely true. But in the wintertime, it can actually get decently cold. So about 2 weeks ago, the average was probably like, you're gonna hate me here. It was like 50 degrees. So it actually
That's streaking weather right now, everyone. By the way, I'm just saying that up here, that's streaking weather. Yeah.
but here it's so funny because you'll see people like in winter coats walking around in like 50, 45 degrees versus back in like our Midwestern states, that'd be like a long sleeve and a pair of joggers just walking around.
Oh, I was wearing just a regular t-shirt today, walking my dog with shorts on, because it was, in the mid 40s. And I mean, yeah, it's just, a completely different atmosphere there. But if someone were to also walk up to you and say, Emily, we made a decision, you can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see change? And if it's more than one, feel free.
Ooh, I gotta be careful what I say here because there's some taboo topics. If there was one thing that I could change, mm, 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 mm. Hmm. I would say openness in the community about like what goes into bodybuilding, for example. Um, I'm not going to talk about it too much.
Oh, no, guys, we know what she's talking about, wink, wink. So we don't even have to bring it up, but like, we know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would definitely like people to understand that when you compete at a bodybuilding competition, the people that are winning more than likely are not natural. And you also should not be jumping on gear for your first show whatsoever either. So like there are consequences to rushing into things and to just take things slowly and do the research. Don't blindly trust someone who says like take X, Y, and Z. Do the research yourself. Corey Fit, I think, is her name on Instagram, but we can go back through and check
Oh, no,
that.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I watch her videos a lot, and I recommend everyone to watch her videos. It is so informative.
Uh-huh. Like I would definitely say like if you're looking into going to the dark side, look into Corey Fit and like watch those videos. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
I do not claim to be natural, nor do I claim to take things. But we'll leave it at
She's
that.
on Rhino testosterone. She told me before we recorded everyone. So,
It's straight train baby.
well, and then she was also on Gorilla Trend, but let's we're not gonna list things right here, everyone. Whatever alligator testosterone she decides to inject in her body, that's her own business. Everyone's no, I'm joking, obviously, but no, I know we all know what you're talking about when we talk about the subjects because it's something that isn't talked about as much as it should be. But I also understand why people don't talk about it, and I have to add a disclaimer. I already made a post about this earlier today because I was making fun of someone who had just gotten caught with stuff when they had their entire lifetime. They said that they were natural, which yeah, it's funny when they look like that. But everyone knows what I'm talking about. I'm not going to name names just in case they do legally do something with it, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. But I do understand that so many of the guests I have on, 95 to 99% of them are on some sort of gear, and that is totally fine with me. You still got to put in the work. The only problem that I have with people on gear is if they deceive other people for their own gain financially or otherwise into saying you can look just like me if you just follow my program, and that program just includes like nutrition and stuff. That's the only time I get upset with people, or that they claim that they're natural and they're clearly not, and it's like just don't even claim anything. Then that's the only time I ever get upset with people is that. But yeah, for people that just, even if people say like I have no comment, I still respect them because it's like, yeah, you don't have to tell people, but it's like if you're gonna straight up lie. But that's my 2 cents little tangent right there.
My red hair is natural.
This beard is fake, by the way.
Oh shit. It is a pretty impressive beard.
Okay, so I just got it cut 3 days ago, and it was about 3 inches longer than that. But it was getting to the point where I couldn't eat anything without like me biting down on hair because
Oh.
that the mustache stuff was coming down too low. So it was just when you get to recording some of these podcasts, and then I work a warehouse job where you don't have to look the most presentable,
Uh-huh.
and and I've been seeing the same person for quite a while now, and it's gotten to the point where when you're with someone for that long a period of time, you can kind of let yourself go a little, not saying like body wise, but like hair wise, you can let yourself go just a little bit, and they won't really complain too much about it. So, but it finally got to the point where she was like, Ryan, you got to get it cut because I'm not. She goes, I'm not going to kiss you anymore if you keep it like that. And I was like, well, that's her trump card, so might as well get a haircut now. So she played it with that. But speaking on which, I mean, especially women that are on the little bit more muscular side, I always find their relationships with men in general are a little bit different than women who aren't as muscular, just based on some of the reactions they get and stuff. We don't have to go into specifics because trust me, I've heard so many horror stories and everything like that. But how has that adjustment been for you, realizing that like when you become muscular as a woman, you draw a whole different type of men to you on average?
I would actually say that my experience with putting on muscle has been an extremely amazing one because ever since putting on muscle, it has accentuated the hourglass physique that I have. Because with bikini, you really are kind of getting that beach body look for like the majority of like your improvement season until you go into prep, of course. But like you're building those curves, and the vast majority of the population doesn't work out to begin with. So when you hone in on your physique, like you're already getting the spotlight on you. If anything, I would say like it definitely helped me with the dating pool. So like I don't struggle with getting dates.
I'm talking about the messages. that's what I that's what I mean. No, I understand it's much easier because if people see someone that's like in shape, it's normally for even normal guys who might not be into like super muscular, if they see someone who's just in shape, they're just like, okay, that means that she has dedication. She shows up. I'm talking about the DMs that you get, which we don't have to go into, but like I get some when people think when I make a post about like a guest that I had on, some people think that I'm them. So then I get like a 1% taste of what they deal with. And I almost want to break my phone and burn it and then never go log on to social media ever again.
Oh yeah, no. I would definitely say that that is kind of the dark side of bodybuilding as well, is that it almost feels like bodybuilding and OnlyFans are kind of going hand in hand. And that is one territory that I will never go down because I feel like bodybuilding is a professional sport. It is not meant to be sexualized to that degree. And I think that it just tastes so much sweeter when you earn it yourself. So, like the DMs that I get are, "What's your OnlyFans link? Can I buy pictures from you?" Stuff like that. And I'm just throwing out like right now, hell no, no. Like just because I stepped on stage in a bikini does not mean that I am willing to be sending you that kind of stuff. Like, this is a professional sport. I'm doing this because I believe the human body is beautiful. I think that this is my art. You know what I mean? Like, I am the sculptor and the sculpture. So it's like shaping my body to fit what I think is beautiful and fitting those requirements. And posing is an art in itself, like I was telling you before. Like finding your own tweaks on making it more you. Like bodybuilding is an art and it is beautiful. And let's not make it something that is disgusting and perverted, and let's keep it professional. Let's keep it an art.
I do gotta say though, this is just me being completely honest. They gotta get rid of that back pose though, because people that claim that it's not sexual and it's like they do. I'm not saying that's sexual, but I'm just saying like that back pose. It's like you can find a different way to accentuate your back without that pose. But that's just me. And again, I'm not claiming that it's a sexual sport or something like that, but I'm just saying like again, just like with other competitors, like with the physique and body, or I mean with the physique and bodybuilding division, where they always say like the ab pose is just so unnatural looking and it needs to be made to look like more flowy and stuff because it's just such an unnatural looking pose just to kind of just like scrunch down and stuff like that. It's like for that back pose, like they gotta try something else with that. But I don't know, maybe they'll figure it out someday.
I actually really like the back pose because I feel like it does show off the waist to the glute ratio.
No, I'm just saying like people will think that that's the most sexual thing ever then, and then when people say like this isn't a sexual sport, I'm only saying that because then people will then show a picture of someone doing that back pose and be like, really? It's not a sexual sport. Like that's the only reason I have anything. That's the only reason I'm saying they should change the sport. Like I agree it's a great pose, but I'm just saying like that is going to be the everyone's ultimate defense when everyone's like, no, it's a sexual sport, and then I'm like, no, guys, they are just showing off a body that they work so hard on. They're like, what about that back pose? And I'll be like, you got me on that one, I guess.
People limiting the back shots.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, it's no, but that's, and again, I'm not really, this is just me just going crazy right now because this is my second podcast today and I have a day off work. So I'm just letting it fly right now. But I mean, Emily, what are your goals for next year when we do have you on a year from now, just to give us an update on what you've been up to? Where would you like to be at in your bodybuilding journey, or where would you like to be at in your overall life as well?
Well, first things first, I would love to be on here again in a year. But in a year, I have a lot of aspirations and goals. So I'm hoping to be a better trainer. So I'm going to be training through Fit Club, and that's going to be official within the upcoming week. So I'm hoping to have more clients there. I'm hoping to really take off with my online coaching a little bit more here as well. In a year, I hope to either be an IFBB pro or be well on my way to being an IFBB pro. So Yeah, like GoPro, be a better coach, continue to learn more information, take in-person clients, take more online coaching clients, and just continue to take in knowledge, really. So,
Well, I mean, we talked a little about social media, but before we wrap things up, social media has been such a great thing. I wouldn't have this podcast without it, but then there's also the negative side of it where I would fall into this category if I ever competed, where I would be that person where I would, find out who I was competing against and look them up and sort of mini stock them and then everyone takes their flattering photos where it's perfect lighting and perfect angles where it makes them look so much better than they are. And I would freak out and be like, oh my God, I can't step on stage with that guy. He looks incredible. And did you ever fall into that rabbit hole? And if so, how did you deal with that? Because I can guarantee that would 100% be me.
full disclosure, that was me every single competition. I would be going to the contest page, right? Going through the followers, and I'd be like, she looks like a bikini competitor. Click, look. Oh shit, she
Yeah.
looks really good. Scroll in, take a screenshot, zoom in. But what I would tell people with that one is that it is so easy to manipulate pictures. Like if you have that down lighting just perfect, you can really cap that deltoid, you know what I mean? You can really make your stomach look really tiny if you manipulate the shadows. And let's be honest, so many people use Facetune nowadays. Snatch the waist in an inch, a little bit more there, and they'll look completely different when they step on stage. Like you never really know what a person looks like until you see them in person on that stage. So focus on yourself at the end of the day. Like that's really all you can control. And I know that sounds super hypocritical because I do it too, but it's just like good to remind yourself that, hey, even what you see is not really what is happening behind the scenes. Like just reminding yourself of that. Like this is what it looks like, but this is not necessarily reality because social media is not reality.
And I will say, as someone who has met a lot of these competitors that I've talked to, I've met probably about 50 of them. The majority of them do not look like they look in their photos, even in real life. Now there are some of those handful of genetic freaks where you're like, oh my God, you look even bigger in person than you do in your photos. You're like, okay, this is ridiculous. But most of them, yeah, they're just. I'm not saying normal people because they're not normal. They do incredible stuff with their bodies and stuff like that. But they're just people that are bigger and have more muscular than the average person. And I think a lot of people just over exaggerate just that aspect of too. I think it's just because a lot of people are self conscious that that they don't look like that and they want to look like that, or they just feel inferior because of that, and that's why they sort of overcompensate and make people out to be like much more than they actually are, or even bigger than they are. But that's a whole different topic that could take 10,000 hours for us to get into. But lastly, before we do wrap it up, I do got to talk about coaches because now everybody in this day and age wants to be a coach. Everybody that has 1,000 followers and has competed in one show, oh my God, buy my training program. And for every good coach out there, there's 1,000 bad coaches, it seems nowadays. But in your personal case, like you looked out, you have a really great coach. But in what qualities do you recommend people look for in a coach before they really commit to a coach? Because so many people go through that bad spell. They have like 2 straight bad coaches to start out with, and it completely ruins their journey for them.
Oh, definitely. So, when looking for a coach, it is imperative to make sure that they are educated. So, like, for example, I did not start taking on clients until the very end of my college degree when I already had 2 bodybuilding shows under my belt. Like, I am not a bodybuilding coach because I do not have the qualifications to be a bodybuilding coach. And you need to recognize that there are people out there that will just do one show and say, hey, I'm a bodybuilding coach now. No, 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 no. With bodybuilding, it is highly irresponsible to become a bodybuilding coach after just doing one show and not understanding like supplements, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You can ruin someone's life with that kind of thing. Um, Diet. You can seriously injure someone from making them malnourished, making sure that they're getting the nutrients that they need and you're not pushing them like immediately after a show. Like, for example, someone at my gym tore one of their muscles because their coach pushed them too hard when their body was already in that malnourished state. So, when you're looking for a coach, you want to look for experience. Like, how long have they been doing this for? You want to look at knowledge. Do they have a college degree? Do they have certifications? A lot of people will claim to be a nutritionist. Anyone can be a nutritionist. Literally anyone. Not everyone can be a certified dietitian. So for me, for example, I have a team of certified dietitians that came together and created recipes with the software that I use. So I feel confident putting out nutrition information because it has been double checked with board certified dietitians. So you just want to make sure that you have a coach that has experience, has knowledge, has been doing it for a long time, and also someone who doesn't have a bazillion clients. Like if they're having a bazillion clients, they do not have the time to be giving you all the attention that you deserve. So you should not just be getting like a single text a week. You should be getting like maybe a video response that's like at least 2 to 3 minutes, or you should be able to contact them and have them respond to you within a day or two. And so, like, for example, with me, not to sell myself, but I always reply within around 24 hours to all my clients because it's important. The mental side is important too, to like make sure that they feel like they are being seen, that they are being heard. It's not just here's your diet plan, here's your fitness plan, carry on.
No, I honestly couldn't have said it better myself. And you just brought up a bad memory for me. Well, because the person that I'm seeing right now is a dietitian. And you ever want to be a buzzkill, you go out to eat with a dietitian. And that's going to be a lot of, you sure you want to eat that? You sure you want to? And then, so thank you for bringing up that painful memories. And I'm still going to be experiencing that. But no, I'm just kidding, everyone. But again, Emily, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show and for being on. It was an absolute delight to talk to you. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Definitely. So I would love to give a shout out to my coach, Courtney Starr, because she's the reason why I was able to move out here to Vegas in the first place. She ignited my passion for bodybuilding, for becoming the coach that I am today, and has helped me through so many different things. She's been my coach now for about 4 years. And that's another thing. Like when you get a coach, if they're like, stick with them. It takes a while for someone to like understand how your body works, how your mind works. And if you stick with that coach, they're going to know how you work, and it's going to be able to translate better throughout the years as well. So I've been with her for 4 years, and back from when I was like 120-ish pounds to 154 pounds today, like putting on muscle, literally fundamentally changing who I am as a person. Courtney Starr, absolutely amazing. And then another person I would like to give a shout out to is my head coach, Adam Bonilla, because he allows us to have these posing seminars for free in Las Vegas for the Team Elite Physique athletes. And he's always looked out for the athlete and is just an amazing guy. So like I have the best team at my back, Team Elite Physique, and I adore them.
I'll shout out to all those people. I'll leave a link to everyone's Instagram down below. And, Addie or Emily, again, another tongue tied and twisted moment. Again, everyone, this is just a sleep deprived man talking right now at this point. So, Emily, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And everyone, go and give her a follow. Buyer beware. You will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating all those Twinkies. But again, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.